we climax the entire Stranger Things show with season 5 at the right time to bridge over into a stage production?
Yeah, well, the stage production has been crafted to be intimately a part of the story of the series as a whole. I've been writing on the show since season 2. I was writing season 5 at the same time I was working on the stage play. So it is a deepening of the story as a whole, and it's part of the master story of it all. So I think now is the exact moment to see the play right before 5 comes out, and then hopefully everything will finally make sense.
Where does this fit into the chronology of what's going on?
It's at the very beginning. So if the Stranger Things TV show set in the 80s, we are 1959. So we're at the beginning of the Hawkins story, the beginning of the mythology, how it all started. You'd call it an origin story.
You mentioned that you were writing season 5 while the stage production was getting set into motion. Did the two kind of, even though they're set in very different time periods, did they start to inform each other at all?
Oh, absolutely. Season 5 delves deeper into the backstory of Henry Creel and Vecna. Where did he come from? What happened to him? And that's the world that the play lives in. So there was a lot of back and forth between the show and the play.
Kate Trefry, who is one of the executive producers of season 5 and a writer, and has been in the writer's room for years of Stranger Things, is also our writer of the play, and therefore she's been seeding and feeding into the play and also into the writer's room of the TV show, so that there are Easter eggs all over. There are Easter eggs in the play, and there are Easter eggs in the TV show in season 5 relating to our play.
Do your portrayals, where we leave off, do you feel like they segue nicely into where they begin in season 1?
I think it's a perfect segue. I think that's exactly what this team is good at. And if anything, it backs up so much of like what, if you were to start at season 1, you'd be like, oh, that makes sense. It honors the canon, but it also carves out a new space of like, what could be more fun than watching someone be like a messy teenager and figure out the relationships that like we so deeply know and love. And this show is exactly that for everyone.
Have you had any conversation with David and Winona yet?
So we're saying yet. Yet is the
not
point.
Yet.
Hi, David. It's so nice to digitally meet you. I can't wait to meet you in person and shake your hand.
We hope there's a real person on the other side of that.
Yeah, it's you, David. I think what's so beautiful about those people as being your sort of guiding lights,
yes,
is that those two individuals are two of the most committed actors that we've seen on TV, and they have made up, what could have easily been sort of a Scooby-Doo sci-fi show into the level of authenticity of let's say like something wild like Chernobyl. You know what I'm saying? Where you're bringing that heart and that groundedness into something that could be very fantastical, and that's been such a pleasure to play
they ground
with
it
here.
Yeah, they really ground the show, and so it's an honor to play those people.
So I was introduced to the show in a kind of a cool way. I was actually acting with David Harbour in Shakespeare in the Park when the show hadn't quite come out yet, and it came out during previews, and so I kind of got a front seat to him, in the show being received so beautifully and massively. And that was honestly a wonderful experience to see a really disciplined, hungry actor, in some ways have his dream come true, and then him continue that trajectory. So that was a really special moment.
Both your characters, Bob specifically, is a character that Stranger Things fans obsess over. Justice for Bob is still a thing many seasons later. How does it feel to kind of get to step into those shoes and kind of start characters at the ground zero?
Oh man, nerve-wracking, rewarding, so fulfilling. The Justice for Bob campaign was so big. My sister was a big advocate for the Justice for Bob campaign, so she's been freaking out. I love Sean Astin. Shout out Doug, 51st Dates. So I'm so grateful to be of service to him and of the story that he created, and to show fans how and why Bob Newby became the superhero that he is, and I hope I can provide a little bit of that justice that the fans were asking for.
Yeah, I mean, having an opportunity to play a new character in the Stranger Things universe is such a gift for me as an actor. Being a fan as a consumer, it's like now I have a chance to play in the world that I grew up watching. So Patty is Bob's adopted sister, and it's been such a joy to get to explore Henry's humanity through my character. I think that is a vital part of the storytelling as to why he becomes the monster that we know and love in season 4 and season 5. So Patty's been definitely a gift to me as an actor, and I hope that people go home and fall in love with her.
Yeah, my research was, I've kind of let it grow. You know, there's obviously when you audition, there's that frantic, cultivation of ideas. You're like, I have to get this and I have to get this now. And then after the part, I sort of threw everything that I thought I knew about the character away, and I took a heavy, long look at this scene. It's season 4, Jamie Campbell-Bower and Millie Bobby Brown, and it's when Henry Crewell's explaining that he's Vecna. You know, he's like in the rainbow room with her and they're having their fight scene. And I looked at that scene maybe like 60 times. I kid you not, man, because he does it so well, and it almost encapsulates his whole character. Everything he strives for in that monologue is like so true to his heart. And I think that's what's so scary about Henry, is he's devoted, and he's way too smart for his age. And as much as he wants to do the right thing, this want and this need that has been instilled inside of him, like this this egg that's been planted by his family, because he did something terrible in Nevada. He's a broken boy and he is loved, but he will never understand that because he thinks that everybody else is out to get him. And I took a lot of my inspiration from Jamie to round it all together.
I definitely lightly touched on Matthew Modine kind of in the earlier seasons and the way he relates to the children. There's such a paternal aspect to it, but you never are quite sure what's leading the race, whether it's his pursuit of the scientific method and working for the Department of Defense and this blending of really caring for these children. I think there's some fellowship between Dr. Brenner and Henry, perhaps, as people who don't quite fit in and haven't quite fit in for their entire lives, and that strangeness, that otherness, I think is a place that they can bond over. And I also I've been watching some clips of Iron Man and Downey Jr., because he has such a level of ambition and tunnel vision towards his pursuits. That reminds me a lot of Dr. Brenner in our show.
Justin, you're tasked with capturing so much of the grand Stranger Things action on the stage. If you could kind of just walk me through kind of just some of the difficulties you experience, maybe not difficulties, but the process of setting something up for a live audience as opposed to having the luxury of post-production, CGI, and stuff like that.
I mean, the brilliance, what we said to Kate when she first was game enough to write this, just write us 2 episodes, write it as if it's 2 episodes. And then what was brilliant for us is that we then had to solve the problems of how do you do intercutting, how do you do match cuts, how do you do those sort of things on stage, which really pushed us as creatives, because we'd not worked in that way before. And what was brilliant is Kate and us meeting in the middle and finding a way sort of to be in conversation with each other. But it did mean that we have jump scares and we have monsters and we have all sorts of things, and trying to find a way in which you can believe them on stage so it's visceral and exciting and you don't know what's going to happen next was sort of one of the, it was not uncomplicated, but it did really push us.
Something that I think is very important and indicative of what Stranger Things has always done is pay homage to the movies and TV shows of the time it takes place in. So we're in the 50s here, and there were such great practical effects in those horror and sci-fi movies of those times, and man, are we paying homage to that with our practical effects. We're not just using some screens or projections. I mean, sure, there's some of that, but we have some pretty intense things that I think fans will be blown away by.
From what we've been told so far, it's this mix of kind of new technology, but also some really old, almost like magic tricks. Mm-hmm. That, and it's that blend of that seems really exciting. I don't know what your first experience was, but when you're reading it, you're like, how are they? I don't know how they're going to do it. And so it has that element of something that can only exist in theater, something that only because it has to be something different, because you can't compete, like what you said, with the CGI.
And when you have this production of 36 people and this massive theater, I mean, it's a really big theater that we're in. The idea of like where your focus goes and how we can get the audience to see one thing when something else is happening and vice versa. I mean, it's just it comes down like Theo said, to the magic of theater, like just the basic sort of, the way the Greeks did it. Just look here and look there and what's happening, and we will trick you and you'll feel something in your gut. And that's like, some people coming to see theater for the first time, maybe they didn't know that that's possible.
I think something that I'm getting used to in the rehearsal room is just walking in and seeing fake blood on the floor and hearing somebody scream. It's like, it's just another day at work. But I think that it's going to be thrilling for audiences, because if you're in the front row, you're definitely going to get an immersive experience. But even if you're in the mezzanine in the back, you're going to get a beautiful, beautiful show.
Screen Rant exclusive. We do have a bit of a splash zone, and I'll let fans decide for them to figure out where that is. But we'll have a bit of a splash zone. You'll be seeing Willie from SeaWorld or something. It'll be a big splash zone for sure.
Are we talking water here? Or are we talking fake blood?
We're talking even more than that. I think we have a few other things. They might even come home with a little something to take with them.
A gift to show their friends.
Yeah.
Tide pen will come in handy.
The Tide pen will come in handy.
I'm Henry Creel.